Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it is Thursday, week 10. We have a game tonight between the Broncos hosting the Raiders. Who you going to start and who you going to sit? All right. I'm excited for this game. We got to rep our Chargers gear, though. We got to represent the team I actually prefer to watch in this division. But I do have respect for Denver more so than Las Vegas, and definitely I'd rather watch the Broncos than the Chiefs. So let's go Broncos tonight. I assume they will win, but let's break things down. And bear with me if this broadcast is a little choppy. I'm changing up the graphics in this video, in this segment, just a little bit this week. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the injury report. Let me pull this up. We got the Broncos injury report here on the screen. Let me throw my phone away and show you the players inactive for tonight. There are 4 names of relevance for Denver that are not going to play, and the biggest would be Pat Surtain. The cornerback is out with a pec injury for the second week in a row, and he is not available in this game. But if they were going to use him, the only player to really worry about would be Bowers, so I think they can get away without Surtain this week. They are also without wide receiver Marvin Mims. He's out for the second week in a row with a concussion, and so that does open the door a little bit for Troy Franklin. Cortland Sutton feels like a safer bet, and then Pat Bryant, also a dark horse candidate, could have a solid game while Mims is out. Otherwise, tight end Nate Atkins is out, and that's not really a player that contributes very much. We generally just trust Evan Ingram. And then on the defense, their safety PJ Locke is also questionable. But otherwise, the Broncos are pretty healthy on the season. They've had very few injuries to speak of. And other than like a couple offensive line injuries, they've very rarely shown up on the injury report. They are generally speaking pretty healthy this year. So that's it for the Broncos depth chart. Now let's show you the Raiders depth chart, where in general, they're very healthy. There are very few injuries to speak of on this roster. Their backup quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, is out. So if they do get fed up with Geno tonight, they're going to be rolling with Kenny Pickett. AOC not coming back at least this week. He is out for this game. Otherwise, on offense, everyone's healthy. The only thing to really mention is the shakeup at wide receiver. They did trade away Jacoby Myers 2 days ago. By the deadline, Jacoby Myers was a Jaguar. So the new lineup at wide receiver is maybe different than you would have expected. We do have Trey Tucker leading the charge. He's actually been the more productive receiver, even while Jacoby has been healthy and available for this team. But then they recently brought in Tyler Lockett, who got released by the Titans, and Pete Carroll knows him pretty well. He does have some chemistry with Geno, so we'll see how many routes he runs tonight, but I'm not really expecting him to be the big player that contributes. He's listed second on the depth chart, though. Maybe that is not a lie. Jack Betch was drafted in the second round, and we know that Jacoby Myers requested a trade earlier this season. So Jack Betch is probably a big reason why. Betch looks like the prime candidate to be replacing the target share that Myers gives up. I think he will slot in behind Jacoby Myers. But my preseason favorite, who I've been a fan of all summer, is still Dante Thornton. I think Dante Thornton could be their go route guy, and especially if not much gets going, they get desperate, take a shot down the field. I would assume it goes to Dante Thornton. This man is a prime athlete, and last year in college, he averaged 25 yards per reception. I could see it happen, but without that big house call, you will get nothing. Dante Thornton is all or nothing. I would assume Betch is more likely to get like 5, 6, maybe even 7 targets tonight. But more likely than not, I don't trust any of them. And that's it for the injury report. There are some defensive pieces like the free safety Isaiah Pola-Mao, who is questionable for tonight. And then defensive tackle Adam Butler, also questionable, but that's not really that big of a deal. They also have one player not listed. Backup corner Lonnie Johnson is coming off of IR. He is questionable for this game. He has missed quite some time. So that is it for the injury report. Let's move on and talk about the start sits for this matchup. And usually I would break it down by position, but given we've mixed things up on the channel already, let's just stick with the graphic I've already made. These are the starts and sits for pretty much every player in this matchup. And the only player I changed my opinion on, I feel like Trey Tucker is a little bit more embarrassing to start. I dropped down Trey Tucker from a tier above. I previously had him like right here. So he's still in the flex territory. But I feel a little bit odd starting Trey Tucker against such a good Broncos defense. Now, they don't have Pat Surtain, but still, I feel like as a unit, they can pose a lot of problems. Sometimes it goes beyond just the corner who covers you, why the receivers aren't playing well. Sometimes it's also related to blitzing and pressure on the quarterback. There's multiple factors. I still don't really trust Trey Tucker tonight. So that's the only opinion I've changed. If you've watched my start sit video, you already know how I feel. But let's break down who I like and who I don't. Let's start with the players I am definitely starting. I believe RJ Harvey is going to have a really good game. Let me show you my rankings as well. And I have RJ Harvey just outside my top 10. So these are my running back rankings right below my camera. And when it comes to RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, I have them back to back at 15 and 16. Let me show you with the rectangle, with the red box. RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins at RB 15 and 16. I have them behind guys like Swift, Etienne, Jacobs, and Saquon. And then obviously the top 10 are no-brainers. I do like Quinshon Judkins and Rico Dowdle a lot this week. I have them both top 10. But otherwise, in terms of like players moving up the board that aren't usually ranked this high, it would be the two Broncos running backs, RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. And my preference is RJ Harvey. I do like Harvey just a little bit more. He's been emerging lately. They did draft him in the second round, and the volume seems to be kind of capped for Dobbins at about 15 carries. And Dobbins rarely catches receptions. Harvey does everything, and Harvey is emerging more and more every single game. I like Harvey a lot. I think he will score a touchdown. The matchup for the running backs is league average. However, if we look at the last 4 games, the Las Vegas defense versus the running back position has been pretty vulnerable. They're giving up 6.3 receptions per game in the last 3 weeks, so 19 catches total. Those are definitely going to favor RJ Harvey. And then they've also given up 9 rushing touchdowns in their last 6 games. The odds of a touchdown coming on the ground is about 1.5 per game from the running backs against Las Vegas. So lately, Harvey has been a little safer to project in that department. I like Harvey a lot in the red zone. I think he's the better option, but I do not believe that J.K. Dobbins is much further behind him. I have them back to back. It's pretty close. I just prefer RJ Harvey. I think he has higher upside with a little more value in the passing game. However, in terms of my ranking on Ashton Genty, it's just behind them. It's at RB 18, and I do still have Ashton Genty in the top 20. So I would start him. I'm not as dying to do it, but especially after trading away Jacoby Myers, there's very few playmakers in Vegas right now. And if you look at the Broncos matchup, it's one of the easier they have to offer. It's not easy compared to their peers. Like, it's still bottom 10 in the league, but the Broncos run defense isn't the toughest spot you could ask for. They're much tougher against quarterbacks and wide receivers. So Genty should contribute. His volume is on lock. That's kind of the main thing that keeps him top 20. He is a bit victim to good and bad matchups. In a bad one like this, he's definitely lower in the top 20, but the volume is just so safe and secure. I would consider Genty probably a must start. Still going to rank him in the top 20. So I'm telling you to start him, but not expecting like a massive game. If you look at just the last 4 games for the Broncos run defense, they're giving up 3.1 yards per carry. That's very low efficiency. We've seen some rough performances from Genty this year in that category. So without the receptions and a touchdown, I wouldn't see much upside, but the volume is just safe enough to bet on, where odds are if somebody does score a touchdown, it would be Genty if it's not Bowers. So I would start Genty. Don't feel great about it, but I'll reluctantly do it. I'm not going to give Raheem Mostert, though, any time or attention. Definitely not starting Raheem Mostert. But the Broncos defense, I think, is a must start. Geno Smith is very turnover prone. And if you look at their stats, they are a really tough matchup across the board, especially for quarterbacks, bottom 2, and wide receivers, the toughest overall. And then both running backs and tight ends also get a downgrade against Denver. So Broncos are a must start. Let me pull up my ranking on them. Let me get rid of the running back rankings. Let me find it. Here we go. These are my defensive rankings, and I have the Broncos number one overall at defense, above the Panthers against the Saints. That's a good matchup, but the Broncos are by far the best. Against Geno Smith should be amazing. They're always a lock in the lineup, so this is kind of a obvious ranking overall. However, there is no chance in hell I'm starting the Raiders. They're at the bottom of my tier. I have the Raiders in the clear sit territory. They are my defense number 26. I am not telling you to start the Raiders whatsoever. I'm going to trust Sean Payton and the Broncos offense. At the very least, they're going to dominate in the fourth quarter, but I feel like this is one of those games where they will start hot, finish hot. They'll be good all game long. The Raiders are a bottom three defense, in my opinion. So definitely do not start the Las Vegas Raiders. And then let's move on to a different position. That one is pretty obvious there. What am I looking for? Right. Wide receiver ranks. These are my wide receiver ranks. I have Puka at number 1. Obviously, that's definitely a player starting, but the players we're talking about today would be on the Broncos side of the ball. Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton is the player I would like to bring up. He is definitely a start for me. I have him at wide receiver 12 this week, and I'm definitely starting him if I have him. The Raiders defense in the last 4 games ranks top 12, but on the season it ranks top 7. It has been a good spot to be in all year long. So with Marvin Mims inactive, I do trust Courtland Sutton to probably score a touchdown. I would expect him to get the most volume in this passing game, and maybe he'll be a victim of game script. If he doesn't score by the second half, perhaps they have such a big lead that they don't throw it very much, and perhaps Sutton will not get the job done. But I would assume he bounces back. He's had a couple rough games. Last week was a really tough matchup, and he still had a touchdown, but that was his only reception. This is a week where he should probably get closer to like 8 or 9 targets. So I would trust Courtland Sutton for sure. I'm definitely starting him in my top 12. And then I would be flexing Troy Franklin with the Marvin Mims concussion. With Marvin Mims inactive, I have Troy Franklin in the clear flex territory. I don't have him in the top 30. I'm not automatically starting him, but he is a solid flex play, a decent option in my opinion. I have him at wide receiver 33, and behind guys like Khalil Shakir, Josh Downs, Romeo Doubs. That's not bad. Above guys like Demario Douglas, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, and Trey Tucker in this game, I would rather go Troy Franklin if I had the choice. I like the fact that Marvin Mims is not going to play. That's definitely making it more obvious where the ball's going to go. And maybe you'll get a weird game script just like Sutton. You could get screwed. But if I was making a bet, Franklin has gotten good volume the last 3 games. I believe it's 26 or 28 targets. It's pretty high. It's averaging close to 9 targets in the last 3 games. He's not giving you the safest consistency. Sometimes he doesn't catch like more than half of those targets. But he also has 3 touchdowns in his last like 4 games. Troy Franklin is definitely contributing more these days in Denver. So I consider him a solid flex play. Outside my top 30, maybe you don't have the space for him, but inside the top 35, still a player I'm definitely looking to if I need a replacement. There are 4 teams on bye with some very relevant players, like the Bengals. That's 2 guys off the board. The Chiefs, another 2 players you're typically starting off the board. Then the Cowboys with 2 good top 15 wide receivers, also unavailable. And then Tennessee, who cares about them? But that's 7 receivers that typically you'd have ranked above Troy Franklin that you can't look to this week. So he definitely is entering the flex conversation. But when it comes to Trey Tucker, I have him at 37. I don't think Trey Tucker is an automatic start, but he is a wide receiver 1 at the end of the day. With the trade of Jacoby Myers, it's pretty legit at this point. They do believe in Trey Tucker quite a bit, but they still have Brock Bowers. That's where the ball's going to go mainly, and I don't like this matchup at all. Even without Pat Surtain, I still don't feel good about starting Trey Tucker. So the players I have ranked above him in the rankings there, I have him at number 37, so not far behind Troy Franklin, but not really a safe play either. I would probably rank him behind the start-sit bubble. I haven't officially ranked all the tiers, but typically wide receiver 37 is just behind the cutoff point of where I'm starting to bench guys. So I would feel embarrassed to start Trey Tucker. Not the best matchup for him, but if you are desperate, go ahead. I understand the logic. He is one of the few wide receiver ones. But that's the only receiver I'm comfortable starting in Las Vegas. I do not consider Jack Betch a safe investment at all. Let me scroll down and show you my rankings there. Actually, the rankings for today only go to wide receiver 43, but I'll tell you right now, Jack Betch is not inside my top 50. I have no idea what to expect from Jack Betch whatsoever. Even when it was Jacoby Myers, it wasn't a productive player at all. So maybe he plays well, but he is a rookie at the end of the day, and Tyler Lockett knows the system, knows the quarterback. I could also envision a world where Tyler Lockett is sneaking into the end zone. I could see old Pete Carroll and Geno Smith just go to old reliable Tyler Lockett, and he gets down before getting tackled over and over again and just pisses you off if you made any investment in Trey Tucker, Jack Betch, or like me in a lot of best ball leagues this summer, Dante Thornton. I still have some hopes for Dante Thornton, but he's a house call or nothing. I am not telling you at all to invest in the Raiders wide receiver core. If you don't have Trey Tucker, just leave them alone. Maybe someone will emerge, but against the Broncos, it's not the matchup where I'm expecting that to happen. So definitely avoiding them. And the main reason why is because I just trust Brock Bowers so much. Bowers was just so insanely good last week. He was amazing. Let's pull up my tight end rankings real quick. Where are they? Here we go. Tight end rankings on the screen. Bowers is my number one. After last week, how are you not ranking Bowers at number one? He was so good. Even without the overtime touchdown, he would have had 2 touchdowns. He would have been the tight end 1 overwhelmingly. So an amazing play. Had the pass in overtime to win the game not been batted down, Bowers was wide open. He would have won the game on a 2-point conversion. Sadly, it didn't work out. I did pick Las Vegas to win, so I'm kind of bitter about it. But Bowers just looks so good. He is a lock in the lineup. Clearly the tight end 1 after his 100-yard game against the Patriots and last week. Otherwise, he's been injured every other game. So Bowers definitely in my lineup. Obviously, that is the case. And then the only other tight end to consider in this game would be Evan Ingram, who I'm not trying to start Evan Ingram. If you look at the matchup stats higher on the screen here in the tight end column, Las Vegas is actually a really tough matchup for tight ends. So I have Evan Ingram way, way down the list. I scrolled all the way down to number 23 just to find Evan Ingram. I am definitely benching him. Typically, he's just a floor play. He gets targeted very close to the line of scrimmage, and sometimes he offers some yak, and sometimes he gets like good enough volume where he can carry you. But unless you get the touchdown, he is not worth more than 6 points this week. And honestly, that feels like an optimistic projection. Based on the matchup stats, I would not expect a good game out of Evan Ingram. The Raiders are good at defending the position. They're bad against receiver. They're good against tight end. So leave Evan Ingram on the bench. I would consider dropping him if you need the space. He's one of those tight ends where you could argue is a solid start every week and I should rank top 12. And then you can also argue I should never rank him in the top 20. Like, there's just not that much value for Evan Ingram because there's not that many touchdowns to go around. Often the touchdowns are going to guys like Troy Franklin or RJ Harvey, Dobbins, and Sutton. In Denver, they rarely go to the tight end. But it has happened at least once this year. He also has been injured. Ingram isn't the worst, but he's not my favorite option this week. Definitely in a bottom 5 matchup. Going to avoid him if I can. Otherwise, the only other player I'm really starting with confidence would be Bo Nix. So let me pull up my quarterback rankings. Where are those? Here they are. QBs, I'm willing to endorse Bo Nix with confidence this week. I have Bo Nix as my QB 3. I posted it yesterday in the video. I'm telling you 100% start Bo Nix. And the Raiders matchup is top 16 this season. If we look at the last 6 games, they have allowed 8 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions. They're actually getting a little bit more difficult. The average they allow every week is about 17 points. So I could be wrong on Bo Nix. This could be one of those games where game script gets away from him and maybe they just kill the clock so much in the second half that RJ Harvey and Dobbins just don't share. But I would expect the Raiders to totally dominate. Like, if you told me this game resembles the Chiefs blowout against the Raiders, would not be surprised at all. And against bad teams, the Broncos have just had their way with them. Like, think about the Bengals game in primetime. This will probably be similar. That was like a 40-3 outcome. The Cowboys game, also kind of similar type of matchup. No defense expected on the other side. That one was 44-22. Like, the Broncos are probably dropping close to 40 points this week. At least 30 is my expectation. So in any game like that, the quarterback is someone you want to start. The Broncos offense is a good one under Sean Payton. I typically trust them. And then I also typically never fear the Raiders defense. So I have Bo Nix as a must start at QB3. I think he's a lock in the lineup. I can't envision a reason to fade him. I was worried about him last week against Houston, a really tough matchup, and he only threw one interception. He almost had 20 fantasy points. He really impressed me. Against Houston, I thought he would be way, way worse, and he almost had 20 points. So I consider him worth a start at this point. In a good matchup like this, I would be starting Bo Nix. Pretty much regardless of who else I had. Maybe I would be tempted to take a flyer on Goff this week because the Commanders matchup's so good, but Goff has like nowhere near the floor of Bo Nix. So I'm going to pass on that. I think Bo Nix will be fine. Unless you have Lamar and Josh Allen, the only other quarterbacks I would start other than Bo Nix. And odds are you didn't draft two. So yeah, if you have Bo Nix, definitely start him. That's definitely who I'm endorsing. However, on the Broncos side, who the fuck are you kidding? There's no chance I'm endorsing Geno Smith. Let's scroll the fuck down to find Geno Smith because damn, he is buried. He is literally my final ranked quarterback this week. At number 28 with 4 teams on bye, there is nobody I would rather not have than Geno Smith. If you told me Kenny Pickett gets some snaps, gets some pass attempts, because Geno just looks like dog shit this week, it wouldn't shock me at all. I would assume Geno probably throws at least 1 interception, and if he throws 2 or 3, he'll probably get benched. I see no upside with Geno, but he now has Bowers healthy. That is the only reason to maybe feel excited about Geno. In a good matchup like last week against Jacksonville, he did throw 4 touchdowns. He was actually pretty good, but he's hyper matchup dependent, and this is not a matchup I want to test. The Broncos are giving up bottom 2 numbers against the quarterback position. On the season, it's the second toughest matchup, and if we look at the last 4 games, they're giving up less than 200 passing yards per game and only 4 passing touchdowns, 4 total turnovers in those 4 games. So odds are you might get 1 passing touchdown. You will also get a pick, and then you'll get less than 200 yards. Probably a fumble as well. I do not trust Geno at all this week. So definitely benching him. Are there any other players I failed to mention? I think I brought up the Raiders defense as a must bench. We are not starting Marvin Mims. That's for sure. He's inactive this week with a concussion. So not going to start Marvin Mims. And then otherwise, I am not starting Michael Mayer because Brock Bowers is healthy. But that's an interesting name to keep an eye on because Jacoby Myers was traded. I could see this team go 12 personnel a lot with 2 tight ends in the starting lineup. I could see them roll out Michael Mayer alongside Brock Bowers quite a bit. He did look pretty decent when he was filling in for Bowers. But typically when you go dual tight end, one of them is just there to block. And if one of them is not running routes, it would be Mayer, not Bowers. So I don't think I would get cute and do that. I would just leave Michael Mayer on the waiver wire. But my long shot candidate for Denver, a player ranked him inside my top 60, but not inside my top 50, not worth showing you on the rankings, is Pat Bryant. And just because Mims is out, that's the only reason why I would even consider looking his way. But not worth a pickup, not worth it. I would definitely bench him. I don't think it's worth it with Pat Bryant. So that's it for all of the start sit decisions. Everything remains the same from Tuesday's video, except the lower ranking on Trey Tucker. He's the only one that moved in this chart. Otherwise, everyone stays the same from Tuesday's video. So that's it for this prediction. And then otherwise, if you're rostering Will Lutz, the Broncos kicker, you can start him. I'm fine with that, but I don't think he's like that coveted of an option. And then Daniel Carlson for the Raiders, not a kicker I would roster at all. I would probably bench both kickers. I don't think they're worth your time this week. So that is it for all of those start sit calls. But let's also show you my final score prediction. Right. The final score prediction is what we're moving on to. Here we go. This is what I think will happen tonight. Y'all are 86% in agreement on Denver tonight. I am definitely siding with y'all. I believe Denver will win, and I don't think it's going to be close. The line is 8.5, and while division games are tricky like that, maybe it could be weird. There could be a little extra defense from Las Vegas that we're not expecting. I would probably not bet on Las Vegas to cover. If you put a gun to my head, I would go Broncos to cover, and I assume that's what the poll results say. Yes, 83% of the poll results are taking the Broncos minus 8.5. So that's pretty obvious. That's definitely the side. I'm expecting them to win 38-17. I do think the Broncos will let their foot off the gas on defense inevitably, and you will get like a garbage time touchdown from Genty. There's probably a touchdown for Bowers as well, but I don't see them going over 20 points. I expect the Broncos to drop more than 30, so I do have Denver definitely covering 8.5. I'm surprised the line went down. I would have assumed it would have gone up, but Broncos should win by at least 10 points. That is my expectation. I think the final score will be Denver 38, Las Vegas 17. But before I answer all of your questions, I also bring you my wager, my Underdog 5-pick lineup for the week. And a reminder, if you are a new customer, if you're interested in tailing these picks, or if you just would like to sign up for Underdog, the promo code I have to offer is code BLUNT. And new customers on Underdog entering code BLUNT on sign up, play your first $5 and get $100 in bonus funds. That is a pretty sweet deal. I wish I got it when I signed up for Underdog. Sadly, I did not. 100 free bucks is pretty dope. But let's show you how to spend that first $5. This is the lineup I am entering tonight. Whoa, that is very zoomed in. Let's make that a little smaller. Jesus, that is massive. Okay. These are my 5 picks. I'll show you the expected prize when I break it down when it's done. But these are the 5 picks. I believe RJ Harvey will score a touchdown in the last 6 games. The Las Vegas Raiders have given up 9 rushing touchdowns to the running back position, and lately RJ Harvey has been scoring more touchdowns than J.K. Dobbins. So I believe he's the guy you want. I think he's more valuable. I hit the higher on RJ Harvey anytime touchdown, whether it's in the passing game or on the ground. I believe RJ Harvey is worth a start tonight. I think he'll score a touchdown against Las Vegas. I also do not believe Geno Smith is going to have a good game at all. And even though Pat Surtain is not active, in the last month, the Broncos secondary is only giving up 197 passing yards to the position. And I do not believe Geno Smith will have what it takes with no Jacoby Myers. With fewer pass catchers, it's all on the back of Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, and I just don't think Geno will eclipse 215. I'd be surprised if he goes over 200, but let's not make it more difficult. Let's stick with the Underdog projection. The higher lower they have is 215.5. Let's stick with 215.5. I think he will hit the lower on this number. So I'm not a believer in Geno tonight. I think the interception is also a pretty safe bet, but the multiplier is not exciting, so I'll avoid that. I'll just hit the lower on his passing yards. And then J.K. Dobbins, I like a lot in this game. I think he'll be very effective. However, the trends with Dobbins, it's been a month since he's gone over 16 rush attempts. In the last 4 games, his rush attempts are exactly 14, 15, and 15. So the line by Underdog, the projection is 15.5. I do not think he'll go at 16. I do not see it happening. I think they'll rather go to Tyler Beatty than give J.K. Dobbins a 16th rush attempt. He'll have 15 carries, 1 reception, and it'll be a nail biter, but I do think he goes under 15.5. I do not think he hits 16 plus rush attempts. It's been over a month since he's had more than 15. So that one is a little cheeky, but I'll take it. I will hit the lower on Dobbins' volume. Bowers, though, is getting massive volume, especially with the trade of Jacoby Myers. Bowers is a lock to hit 10 targets. With no Pat Surtain, there is no one that can cover him. And in his last 2 healthy games this season, he does have well over 10 targets. Last week, he had 13. And if you look at his 2 career games against the Broncos last year, he also had 10 targets in one game, 13 targets in another. I think it's a guarantee that Bowers will have double-digit targets in this matchup. I have no idea how many he will catch. I have no idea how many yards he will have. You could tell me he puts up 150 and I'd believe it. You could tell me the Broncos try to lock him up and he gives you less than 50. I would also believe it. I think he'll score a touchdown, but that's also a little bit crazy. The only thing I know for a fact on Bowers is that he's getting a shit ton of volume. That is for sure. Give me Bowers to hit double-digit targets tonight. And then the fifth one, that one I think is where we make our big money. The big multiplier is on this projection for Troy Franklin. With no Marvin Mims, it becomes more likely. He had a rough game last week, but the volume has been there. Each of the last 3 games, Franklin is averaging about 9 targets per game. And then in his last 3 games, he also has 3 touchdowns. He has been a good touchdown option in this offense. I think the Broncos will score at least 30 points. I see a touchdown going for Troy Franklin. And because of the multiplier, I get an extra 36% of my investment on the return. So those are my 5 picks. The Troy Franklin anytime touchdown. Bowers to have at least 10 targets. Dobbins to max out at 15 carries. Geno to have less than 216 passing yards. And then an anytime touchdown on RJ Harvey. I need all 5 of these to hit. That is not easy to do, but if we do hit all 5, boy, is the return worth it. Let me zoom out, show you what the final prize is. If we get all 5 correct, we would multiply our entry by 62%, and the $5 down would return $310.95. We need all 5 to hit, but this is my entry, my lineup on Underdog tonight. Promo code BLUNT gets you that $100 bonus for new customers. The link is in the description, and I did use a 40% profit boost token on this lineup. Just full transparency, we did get a profit boost token, but that boost token is available for everyone up until kickoff tonight. I think it might be active until midnight, actually, and I would take advantage of it while you can. That extra 40% would turn into bonus cash if you are correct on your lineup. But I feel good about the Geno Smith projection. That one, I would much rather fade Geno than bet on him. Dobbins, I also feel pretty safe. It'd be kind of strange if he went over 15 carries. That's the first time in over 4 weeks that would happen. And then the Bowers one, I think, is a total lock. The Bowers one is the safest of them all. That one is a guarantee. But the RJ Harvey touchdown, last month, it's been hitting pretty consistently, so I like that a bit. And then Franklin, off a rough game with no Marvin Mims, I think he'll step up. I think he will get that touchdown tonight. So I'm feeling optimistic. Always a little risky when you have to go all or nothing. 5 correct. 4 is not going to cut it, but wish me luck. Those are my picks for tonight. Let's get to your questions, though. There are some questions in the live chat that I need to get to. I noticed some super chats as well, so thank you so much for being patient. Let me get your chat messages on the screen, and as soon as I have that set up, I will answer every question I can. Once we catch up, we'll do a draft, a DFS draft on Underdog as well. Last week, oh boy, that worked out for me. Our $4 draft did finish in 7th place in an 1,100 person tournament. I did cash $150 on a $4 tournament last week. I'll show you the proof in just a second. Let me get the chat set up. Bear with me for just a moment. But let me go back real quick. Here we go. It's right behind me. This was our primetime playbook entry last week. This was the roster. We spent $4 to take a crack at this tournament, and I did finish in 7th place. We scored 89 points. The winner scored 94, so I lost by 5. And if Sam Darnold didn't have that Elijah Arroyo touchdown or that Cade White touchdown, like the 80-yard house call to the guy that nobody even knows who he is, like the no-name receiver that had an 80-yard reception. If that didn't happen, I was the only one in the top 10 who had Lamar Jackson, and I would have won $1,000. I was this close to winning first place in this tournament last week. I was so effing close. But I'll take 7th. $150 off $4 is a pretty dope investment. I was so close. Another thing that was crazy. I had AJ Barner on this team, and if not for the tush push, then I would have finished like well outside the top 20 because everybody else that finished high in this tournament had Sam Darnold. I was the only one with Lamar, and then the AJ Barner tush push fucking saved my ass, man. That thing was crazy. That shit was really close. Really close. But yeah, that was fun. I was a fun game to watch on Sunday night with money on the line. I did have a moment when I was in first place. There was like a 5-minute stretch when I wasn't first, and then that 80-yard house call by Darnold. Just that's the only thing holding me back from winning $1,000. But I'll take it. Give me 150 any day of the week. I'm happy with that. Anyways, let's get to your comments. I apologize for wasting your time, but Andrew Catan, appreciate you, buddy. Would you trade my Kenneth Walker for Sharbs and Charbonnet for Omarion Hampton and Benson? I think that's all dependent on your record. I think where you are in the standings is what's going to allow you to feel willing to do this, because I would say that on the surface, I would rather have Hampton and Benson. I think that is the better side to have because both of them are like clearly the number one in their offenses. They don't compete with anyone. Like Vidal's not going to be a problem for Omarion Hampton. I'm not worried about DeMercado when Benson comes back. They will be the guy. However, how long will it be before they return? With Benson, it could be next week. It's not this week, but it might be next. We don't know that for sure. It might be week 14. It might be the end of the year. It might not happen at all. Same with Omarion Hampton. I don't know when he's coming back. I know for a fact it's not before the bye, and that's in week 12. So as a Charger fan, I'm optimistic it's week 13, but I really have no idea. When I was at the game against the Commanders, when Hampton went down, he was in the tent for a long time. He was literally in the tent for the entire fourth quarter. It was concerning. So I'm not surprised that Hampton is eligible to return off IR, and he's not. I have no idea when he's coming back. And so this trade could totally crater you if you're, on the brink of elimination. If your record is like 4-4 or 4-5 and you're not a lock to make the playoffs, I would not make this trade. I would stick with the Seahawks backfield, as annoying as it is, because I don't think Hampton helps you until week 13. And at that point, what's the use? Like, if you don't have a playoff spot by week 13, you might not have anything at all. So I think I'd hold with the guys I have, unless I was in like first or second place. If I was like 7-2, 6-3, or, better than that, 6-3 is the lowest I'd have to be to make this trade. But on paper, you're getting better players with Hampton and Benson. I just don't know when they come back to the offense. So that's the risk you got to weigh. But if you're in contention for a playoff bye, if you're at the top of the standings, then yeah, I'd take a swing. I'd go for Hampton and Benson, because straight up, the best player is Hampton. Benson could be more valuable than Walker and Charbs when healthy. It could just be a month from now before they're both back on the field. We do not know. And that's the risk you got to be willing to, weigh. Vice versa. Odds are, I don't think I would do it. I think odds are I'm not 6-3 or better and don't have the record to justify it. But if you do, go for it. That's not a bad upgrade in terms of depth. But thanks for the donation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your patience as well. And then we do have a couple other super chats. Andrew Myers with a little donation. Thank you, my friend. Denver defense or Browns defense this week? I'm going Broncos. I will take Denver defense. I know the Browns against the Jets is interesting, but Justin Fields' offense has turned up a few times. They have dropped like well over 30 points a couple instances, and the Browns defense is good, but they are on the road. The Broncos is very good as well, and they are at home against a division rival with a turnover-prone quarterback like Geno Smith. I like the Broncos the most. I got the Broncos ranked number 1. I would go Denver. I have the Browns in the top 5. I think I have Browns at number 4, but Broncos at number 1. My preference is Denver. Against Geno, that's for sure my pick. Thank you for the donation. And then Reflect the Sun also little sticker. I assume this is kudos to our DFS lineup. I assume that has to do with it. I assume. Anyways, let's get to all your questions. Let's start with the first comment of the stream. We have Angelo8424 saying, I'm starting Dobbins, Sutton, and Broncos defense. I like that. I have all of them as starts this week. Sutton, wide receiver 12, Dobbins, wide receiver 16, and then the Broncos defense number 1. Let's go. Good on you with that depth. KJ Frederick says, better flex start, Pop Douglas or Christian Watson. This week, I'm going to go Pop Douglas. With Booty not expected to play, I like the shootout potential against Tampa Bay, and I do think Pop Douglas is going to offer some solid volume this week. Watson, don't love his matchup, could get some Quinyon Mitchell coverage. It is possible, and he's still coming off an injury. He's okay, but he's not like a volume guy. I could see Pop Douglas literally get like 8 targets this week with no Kayshon Boutte. So I think the floor is safer with Pop Douglas. I think the ceiling is also higher. And also the Packers game is going to be really cold. Under 40 degrees sometimes does impact the offenses a little bit. I would go Pop Douglas with a little confidence against Tampa Bay. KJ Frederick, another question. Should I play Knicks tonight or roll with Darnold on Sunday? I do not like the matchup for Darnold this week. Last week, he was amazing in one of the best matchups you could find. The Commanders are way, way easier than Arizona. So I am not as high on Darnold this week. I think he's a bit more matchup dependent than like elite all the time. And Nix has been a consistent top 10 quarterback since like week 3 now. Nix has been very, very consistent lately. And in a tough matchup last week, he was still pretty solid. I like the floor a bit more with Bo Nix. I think his matchup's better tonight. I'd go with Bo Nix. I have him top 3. Meanwhile, I have Darnold outside the top 12. I would go Bo Nix at quarterback. But Jamie's in here. Welcome, Jamie. Bonsoir to you as well. And then DK Master says PPR, RJ Harvey or Kyle Monangai. The reports I've read say that DeAndre Swift is going to play this week. He's already back at practice. So Monangai is going to be dropping down, not going to have the same value as last week. I still think Monangai has value, but I think RJ Harvey is going to be more valuable than J.K. Dobbins. And then in Chicago, I wouldn't say Monangai is much of a pass catcher. Meanwhile, in Denver, RJ Harvey is more of a pass catcher than Dobbins. I think Harvey will give you like 3 catches tonight, and that's also going to be nice PPR value. I would 100% go RJ Harvey tonight. I think he has a great game. I know his projections on like at least ESPN are really low. Like for some reason in my PPR league, Mike Clay of ESPN is projecting RJ Harvey for like 7 points tonight and Dobbins for like 14. That makes no sense to me. Dobbins I get being projected that high, but Harvey's been better. Harvey should be ranked above Dobbins in my opinion. I like Harvey a lot. And with Swift likely to come back, I would fade Monangai tonight. I wouldn't risk it. Bench Monangai for now. Start RJ Harvey. Bruce Leroy says flex Devontae Smith, Vidal, Ken Walker, or Woody Marks in full PPR. You can only start one. You got to go Devontae Smith. I mean, I don't see a reason to be benching Devontae. I like the matchup against Green Bay. Their secondary isn't scary at all. And then there's the weird vibes with A.J. Brown. Devontae's been money in the bank. And Saquon's also kind of banged up right now. I would expect Jalen Hurts to throw the ball pretty well. I would go Devontae Smith, 100%. Vidal, not the best matchup against Pittsburgh. Ken Walker, very reluctant to expect a touchdown from him. He also like runs backwards a lot. That's kind of annoying. Woody Marks, not safe. This is not a good matchup for him against Jacksonville. They're good at stopping running backs. 100%. Give me Devontae Smith. I think that's a pretty easy selection there. I'd go Devontae in full PPR. But Patrick with a question says trade Javonte for Kyron and Harvey. I mean, yeah, if you're getting Kyron, that's kind of a even trade already. You tack on Harvey on top of it. Yeah, fuck yeah. Give me Kyron Williams and RJ Harvey for sure. If all I have to give up is Javonte, no doubt about it. Give me Kyron and Harvey all day. This week, Kyron's going to pop off. Kyron has an elite game log against the Niners. He owns the matchup against San Francisco. He could literally score 30 points this week. Yeah. Fleece whoever is offering you Kyron and Harvey for just Javonte. That's a lopsided trade. Definitely give me the 2 running backs versus 1. Kind of need to win right now, and my other running backs are dog. Yeah. You got Bam, Mason, yeah, 100%, bro. Make this trade. This is a lock. I don't understand why someone's offering you Kyron and Harvey. Like, A fair trade is Javante for Kyron to also get Harvey. No brainer. Bruce with another question: Goddard or Pitts this week? Full PPR. We're going Goddard. We are not ready to trust Pitts, even in a good matchup with a good track record in Europe. I don't care. Bench Pitts if you have Goddard. Goddard is 100% the way to go. Rico 9K says start Daniel Jones or JJ McCarthy. We're gonna bench JJ McCarthy. The Ravens matchup has gotten much more difficult. If you look at the last month for quarterbacks facing Baltimore, the position is only putting up bottom 5 numbers. The Ravens defense has gotten much more difficult against the position. So not trusting McCarthy to give you anywhere close to even like 200 yards passing. He's pretty ass. And then he will turn it over at least once. I don't think he'll have that rushing touchdown this week. I would bench McCarthy if I have Daniel Jones. I know last week was bad. 5 turnovers against Pittsburgh is hard to repeat, though. The Falcons are good, but not that good. And then Daniel Jones still had like 275 passing yards. He was still really good in terms of yardage. Actually, it went over 300, if I'm not mistaken. He really lit it up in terms of yardage. He just had a lot of turnovers. That was the only problem. He had 5 turnovers. That was crazy. Not expecting that to happen again. So give me Daniel Jones there, 100%. But Funeral Snacks says start Franklin, a Wandale, or JMO this week. Love the content. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the compliment. But this is a very legit question. Tempting to go with Franklin, but if you look into the Washington matchup for receivers, it's really fucking good. Washington is so bad at stopping receivers. Like, look at Torrey Horton last week. Look at that 80-yard house call as well. Cody White or whatever the fuck his name. Cade Oliver. I genuinely forgot his name. But Darnold had like 3 house call touchdowns last week. If there's someone in the Detroit Lions offense that's going to give you a house call reception, it's Jameson Williams. I think JMO has elite upside this week. And because Franklin is a little bit boom bust himself, I'd rather bet on the much better matchup with Jameson Williams straight up over Franklin. However, Wan'Dale Robinson is a volume monster and also gets a great matchup against Chicago. So I actually have Wan'Dale and JMO ranked really, really close together. Tomorrow I'm going to rank all my flex decisions, and I think I'm going to prefer Jameson Williams, but just by a hair, and it's mainly for upside purposes. In terms of the floor, I think the best play of these 3 is definitely Wan'Dale. So if you're in full PPR, I would go Wan'Dale because Wan'Dale can give you like 10 catches for 50 yards. JMO can give you 3 catches for 130 yards. And then Franklin can give you like 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. And they can all end up with like the same high upside. But I think from a floor standpoint, give me Wan'Dale. From an upside standpoint, give me JMO. And then if I'm benching one, it's definitely Franklin tonight. So that's what I would do. I think I would go Wan'Dale. But let me just pull up some stats and read them off to you real quick, because I think it's a very legit decision. In the last month, the Washington Commanders are allowing 196 receiving yards per game to the wide receiver position. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears, who are facing off against Wan'Dale, have been allowing 183. So both of them are really vulnerable. In the last month, the Commanders have given up 6 receiving touchdowns to the position, and then the Bears have given up 7. So the stats are slightly favoring the Bears matchup as opposed to Washington. So I think my preference is Wan'Dale, the safer volume, higher floor, still high outcomes. I think I'd go Wan'Dale over JMO. But if you're going to tell me that game is snowing in Chicago on Sunday, which it definitely could, the weather's going to be bad, then I might be afraid of that matchup. So in that case, I'd go JMO. But at the moment, I'm going to go with Wan'Dale. Give me Wan'Dale. If the weather's dog shit in Chicago, then I'll go Jameson Williams. And then I think both are more valuable than Troy Franklin. So bench Franklin tonight, plan for Wan'Dale, pivot to JMO if it's snowing. Long-winded answer, but I thought that was a very, very legit flex decision. that you have. Twisted Folk says, half PPR, would you prefer to flex Harvey or JMO this week? Any news on Dowdle's injury status? Thank you. Let's find out. Let me look into RJ Harvey's injury. I assume he will play. I am aware he's questionable, but as of this moment, haven't seen his practice reps today. So let me look that up for you. Let me go to Carolina and their depth. We got Rico Dowdle, questionable, was a limited participant today with a quad injury, sat out practice yesterday. He was available today. Limited isn't, the best, but it's better than not practicing at all. I assume Dowdle will play. He, I think, has earned the right for a rest day. I think Dowdle will be fine. I think you're starting Rico Dowdle, but prefer Harvey or JMO this week? I'm going to go RJ Harvey. JMO has very high upside as well, but much lower floor. And based on what I've seen from Denver, I think RJ Harvey has eclipsed Dobbins officially. I think Harvey is the safer running back to start in Denver rest of season. So give me RJ Harvey. JMO has value for sure. Good matchup for him, but I think this safety is definitely in favor of RJ Harvey. Angelo thinks Broncos win 31-3, so resembling that Bengals game is what you're predicting. I could definitely see that. Not insane if that happens. Teresa Palmer says, hey, Adam, Vidal or RJ Harvey? We're going to go RJ Harvey this week. I don't like the matchup anywhere near as much for Kimani. Not as easy. Not at all. And then Funeral Snack says, Myers might have been bad vibes in the locker room. That is gone. Might help Gino. That's fair, but they're replacing him with rookies and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, I think, is washed. So whatever they get as a replacement isn't going to be much better than what they were getting. Myers wasn't really contributing very much. I think it's good for Bowers, and that's about it. But Reflect the Sun says, Adam and Leia, that is a sweet deal for $5. Yeah, the $100 in bonus, I wish I could capitalize on as a new customer today. But if you are, a reminder, you can enter promo code BLUNT. Well, let me pull it up. Promo code BLUNT gets you $100 in bonus funds. Play 5, get $100. A reminder. We'll leave that up on the screen for a little bit. I hope it hits for me as well, man. I really sure hope so. Let's remind you of my 5-pick pick'em. Geez, why is it so zoomed in? That's crazy. Why it's fucking huge. I'll put it here. No, I'll put it here. No, I'll put it on this side. I'll put it on this side. There we go. And then I'll move my face a little bit over. There we go. Those are my picks tonight. Anyways, looks like Bjorn, welcome to the Blunt Rotation, my friend. Thank you very much for joining. I appreciate you, man. Enjoy the early access to the tight-ended defense rankings, which will be available tomorrow. But if you don't want to wait, if you want to just pay $4.20 a month, join the Blunt Rotation, be like Bjorn. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining. Hassan, your Raiders are playing tonight. Good luck, man. Good luck on that. Reflect the Sun. Damn you, Darnold. I know. So close. So close. If Darnold didn't just have... If that touchdown had gone to... No, actually, even if it went to Torrey Horton, everyone in the top 10 had Torrey Horton like I did. But I was the only one with Lamar Jackson. What I needed for that 80-yard house call to be a 3-and-out. That was the only thing I needed to be different. That cost me $850. That 80-yard house call by Darnold. But 150, not bad. To put down $4 and win 150, that's not bad at all. Can't complain with $150. Real Fantasy Football says traded Rico and Juwan Jennings for Nico and ETN. Did I cook? Traded Dowdle and Juwan Jennings for Nico Collins and ETN. So an upgrade at wide receiver, and then arguably a downgrade, but perhaps a lateral move at running back. I think you won the trade, my friend. I think I'd much rather have Nico than Juwan rest of season. Nico is also past his bye. Juwan is not. Dowdle, I think, is also not past his bye. ETN is. You get an extra game out of both players, And then while maybe you lose a little bit of value from Rico to ETN, you do gain value with Juwan and to Nico. I think at worst, it's a fair trade. At worst, I think both teams walk away feeling good. But I think because of the bye weeks and the fact that you have Nico Collins, the best player of the group, you won the trade, my friend. Good job on the trade. I like the trade in your favor. Bjorn says Devontae Smith, Waddle, Quentin Johnston, or McBride sit one. Well, we're not benching McBride. We are going to bench Quentin Johnston. If we have Waddle and Devontae Smith, we're definitely benching Quentin Johnston. Sit QJ. Not going to trust Quentin Johnston against Pittsburgh. I think in the bright lights, when it matters most, QJ has very bad nerves and the anxiety gets to him. I'm not going to trust Quentin Johnston to be not dropping passes on Sunday night. Sit Quentin Johnston. Start Devontae, start Waddle, start McBride. Sit Quentin Johnston. Reflect the Sun says in PPR, would you start JMO or Tet as wide receiver 2? In full PPR, it's tempting to go Tet because like the problem for JMO is the volume. But I genuinely think the upside is so high this week for JMO, and Tet like never scores touchdowns. I think if all you want is like 8 points in full PPR, then go Tet. But in full PPR, that's not worth it. Like if in full PPR, if you're not getting at least like 13, 14 points, it kind of sucks. I would go JMO. I think the upside for JMO is literally like 30 points this week. I could see at least one like 40-yard touchdown from Jameson Williams. I like JMO a lot against Washington. Their defense sucks. Have given up a lot of deep passes. If you watched that Sunday night game, the Seahawks against Washington, the main takeaway was that Washington cannot defend the pass. So JMO should go off. I would go Jameson Williams over Tet McMillan. I believe I have it ranked that way. I'm going to double check right now. But even if I don't finalize those ranks until tomorrow, and I'm going to be changing it. But yes, at the moment, I did rank JMO already above Tet McMillan. I have JMO at 24, right behind guys like Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, and DK Metcalf. And I have Tet McMillan at 29, 5 spots behind Jameson Williams. I would be going JMO over Tet McMillan. The upside is worth it this week, for sure. But Vegeta says, any ideas who will get a touchdown? In tonight's game, I like RJ Harvey to score a touchdown. I also like Troy Franklin a little bit. I could see Cortland Sutton score a touchdown. I would also expect a touchdown for Brock Bowers and maybe Ashton Genty as well. But if anything, if a player is going to score 2 touchdowns, I think it's going to be RJ Harvey. I would assume that the Broncos have at least 4 touchdowns tonight. 1 for Harvey, 1 for Sutton, 1 for Franklin, and then a 4th one that either goes to RJ Harvey a second time or to J.K. Dobbins. I would expect a lot of touchdowns for the Broncos tonight. But Alan DeBlitz says, I need 2 running backs to start in Superflex. Rico, Bijan, or Jacobs. Also 2 wide receivers, Debo, Ladd, Franklin, or Christian Watson. So in terms of running backs, you cannot bench Bijan. You cannot bench Bijan. Jacobs versus Rico. That's a good question. Rico against the Saints looks like a better matchup than Jacobs against the Eagles, but the Eagles matchup hasn't been tough this season, actually. I could see them really step up, though, off the bye with Jalen Carter healthy and all that stuff going on. Dowdle feels hard to bench right now, but in prime time, it also feels crazy to bench Jacobs. Damn. You have a good problem on your hands. I think if I was in your situation, I'd be willing to get cute with it and just go Rico Dowdle. Dowdle just looks so effing good, and the Saints are trash. I don't see the Saints stopping him whatsoever. I think I'm going to go Rico Dowdle and Bijan. But if you want to bench Rico for Jacobs, that's fine. I'd try to be flexing Jacobs, that's for sure, but maybe you don't have the space for it. Good luck. I think I'm going to go Rico, though, over Josh Jacobs. I'm 100% starting Bijan Robinson. At wide receiver, though, we're starting Ladd McConkey 100%. And then we don't trust Christian Watson yet. Franklin is interesting. That touchdown is not guaranteed, however. Meanwhile, I think Debo has a solid matchup against Detroit, and the volume should be locked in with no Terry McLaurin most likely. So I'm going to start Debo and Lad McConkey. Lad for sure, and then I think Debo over Franklin is a better bet. But yeah, there's a possibility of snow. It's not a guarantee. It's just going to be cold and it might be snowing. It's more likely raining though in Chicago. Weather is going to be weird in that Bears game. Reflect the Sun says finally which two would you start in PPR from Judkins, Mason, and Travion? We're going to bench Mason. Definitely go Judkins. I'm also going to start Travion Henderson as well. Take the damn photo says 12 team full PPR. Start Kimani Vidal or RJ Harvey. We're going RJ Harvey tonight. We are going to bench Kimani Vidal. I am more afraid of Pittsburgh's run defense than Las Vegas. RJ Harvey, I think, is a safer bet for a touchdown. Anthony Perkins says start 2 in PPR. Rashad White, Travis Etienne, or Tyrone Tracy. 100% I'm going to start Travis Etienne. The matchup for Rashad White is not good. However, the matchup for Tyrone Tracy is also not good. I'm going to be benching Tyrone Tracy and go Rashad White. Bucky Irving not practicing yet. I don't think Bucky will play. If you tell me Bucky Irving comes back, then start Tyrone Tracy instead of Rashad White. But I don't think that'll happen. I think Rashad will get the start. And in that scenario, I will start Rashad White over Tyrone Tracy. And then I will definitely start Travis Etienne above both of them. Etienne and Rashad in the lineup. Tracy on the bench. Patrick says trade Javonte for Kyron and Hendy. Kind of need to win now. And my other running backs are Doggy, 4 and 5, 12-point PPR with running backs Javonte, Bam, Mason, Jones, Benson, Tootin, and Davis. Oh, right. We answered this question earlier. Yes, you are definitely trading Javonte if you can get Kyron Williams and Trayvon Henderson. I remember this trade originally had Harvey instead of Travion. I'd rather have RJ Harvey than Travion. But even if it's Kyron and Henderson, if you got talked down in terms of price, then go with Henderson. He countered with Henderson. Take it. Take it. It's a fair trade, Javonte for Kyron. Take Henderson as well. Bjorn says I got Bowers, McBride, Devontae Smith, Quentin Johnston, sit one. We're benching Devontae Smith. You're going to... No. We're benching Quentin Johnston. No, I misspoke. Bench Quentin Johnston. No thanks with QJ. Alex France says, please help. We are starting 2 Travion, Aaron Jones, Keenan Allen, Tyler Warren, or Monangai. We are starting Keenan Allen. And then at the moment, we're not sure about Ramondre. So I'm going to start Tyler Warren over Travion. Because I think Swift is coming back. Monangai doesn't have the same value. Aaron Jones in a tough matchup against Baltimore. No thank you with him. I'd rather go Travion than Aaron Jones. And so it's going to come down to Travion versus Tyler Warren. I'm 100% starting Keenan Allen. So if Ramondre is healthy, bench Travion. If Ramondre is inactive, bench Travion regardless. We're going to start Tyler Warren and Keenan regardless of what happens with Ramondre. Start the tight end and Keenan Allen. Bench Travion, Monangai, and Aaron Jones. Brandon says we like Genty tonight. I have him top 20, but I don't have him top 12. I don't think it's his best game or anything. I think he's fine. He's kind of just a floor play because the volume is so good. That's generally what he offers. I don't think you have to start him, but at RB 19 tonight in my rankings, or is it running back 18? Yeah, I have him at running back 18. He's fine. He's fine. He probably gets you like 11, 12 points. Nothing special. Touchdown dependent. Should be fine. Real Fantasy is at 2 and 7. Needs to win out. Good luck, bro. Good luck to you. Hard to make it with 8 losses. I think you'll have to win out. But that's what you thought. You said thank you. You're welcome, buddy. Thank you for joining the blunt rotation. I am your Barry Brio. I do not know who that is, but I assume it's good. I'll try and carry you as far as I can take you, buddy. I'm going to try. Wow. Wooly says start Laporta or Gadsden. We are going to go Laporta this week. Love the matchup for Gadsden. I want him in the lineup, but I prefer Laporta. The Washington matchup is even better for Laporta. Laporta was so good last week. I would still start Laporta over Oronde Gadsden. Daniels is hurt. Should I get Brissett? Yeah, Brissett's fine. I prefer Davis Mills this week if you're trying to put in a handcuff quarterback. I would go Davis Mills over Brissett, personally. But Jonathan, happy to see you. Harvey or Odunze. In the flex, we're going to go RJ Harvey. The bagel from Rome last week was pretty shocking. Pretty crazy. I'll just take what I know is coming from RJ Harvey. Give me RJ Harvey over Rome Odunze. Ice Cold Jones says pick 2 players in the flex: Vidal, Shakir, Bill, or Marks. Kind of rough here. Damn. We're gonna go with Kimani Vidal and Khalil Shakir. We're gonna bench Bill. That timeshare is gross as fuck, and he's not even getting the benefit of it. Woody Marks also has a tough matchup against Jacksonville. I'm gonna go Kimani Vidal and Khalil Shakir. I think the volume is safer for those two. Savage says Knicks or Dart. Whew. I really want Dart in the lineup this week, but I think I have to stick with Knicks. My rankings have Knicks at number 3. I'm going to go Bo Nix, but I could see a world where game script holds him back a little bit, and then RJ Harvey and Dobbins vulture him like 3 times, and Jackson Dart is the better start. But my rankings do say Knicks, but I also have Jackson Dart in the top 6. I want to start both of them, but straight up, I'll go with Bo Nix. But it is 420. I just missed it. It's now officially 421. So let me take a quick smoke break. If you have anything packed with me, you can go ahead and join me. We'll drop the stem poll so everyone can join in. It's nice. Officially 420. Actually, let me keep up my... No, not that. This. Yeah, this is my lineup tonight. And I feel good about it. I feel like we have a shot tonight. 3 of them I think are going to hit. I think the Bowers projection is going to go higher. I think the Dobbins projection is going to work out. He has not hit 16 in over a month. And then the Geno Smith one, like, if there was ever a way to bet against Geno, it's definitely the way I want to go. I don't see it working out for Geno against Denver. But I love the Harvey touchdown. I think that one hits as well. And then the Franklin touchdown, I think, is like 50-50. That one's a big toss-up. We'll see what happens. But promo code BLUNT gets you $100 in bonus funds on sign-up. Woo Wooly says, or Mariota. I like Davis Mills, man. Watch my quarterback rankings. You can definitely go Brissett or Mariota if you want someone more long-term. But this week, and this week only, give me Davis Mills against Jacksonville. The matchup is worth it. Give me Davis Mills. But is J.J. McCarthy available? He's okay. Give me Davis Mills this week. I'm bold enough. Pull the ripcord on Davis Mills. But Dart or Knicks, we're going to go Knicks. We're not going to be as fun on that one. But Take the Damn Photo says, I love the name, by the way. Take the Damn Photo. Really like it. Trade away. Trade available. RJ Harvey plus Pittman for either London, Egbuka, or Nico. I don't think that's worth it, man. You have such good elite receivers. You want to have the best player. Consolidating points in one position as opposed to 2 is way more valuable than having the 2 guys. I would stick with London, Egbuka, and Nico. I would not move on this trade. I like Harvey. I like Pittman, but not enough to give up on Nico, Egbuka, or London. Those are elite top 10 receivers. In my opinion, you have to be getting someone like that in order to give them up. Or like a top 10 running back, because you need more depth at that position. But I would not make that trade. I would stand pat. I would not make the trade. Alexis says Bo Nix or Danny Jones this week. We're going to go Bo Nix for sure. Do not like the matchup for Danny Dimes at all. Sat says, what up, team? Lightning one up now. Good luck. I'm rolling with the Broncos defense versus Genty and Dobbins. Wish me luck. I think you'll get a good game from the Broncos defense. Odds are they play pretty well. Wooly says Nick's going to go crazy tonight. I assume he will. He should. He fucking should. But Ice Cold Jones says Broncos defense or Colts defense. We're going to go Broncos. They're my number 1 on the week. The Colts against Bijan, I'm not excited for that. Even with the Sauce Gardner edition, no thanks there. And then Alexis says Bo Nix Sutton stack. Yeah, for sure. Go with the Broncos stack if you have it. Teresa says, I appreciate you, Adam. Keenan Allen or Ted McMillan. We're going Keenan this week. We are representing the Lightning Bolts for sure. Not excited for the upside on Tet McMillan. Keenan should play well. I think he'll move the ball. But Bjorn says puff puff pass. Love it. 620 had me tripping. I assume this is a typo. I assume you mean 420. But I feel like it's a very fair price to join the blunt rotation. $1 per week. I guess $1.05 per week. 420 just for the vibes. I think is a sweet investment. But maybe I'm biased. Ashton Levi says, choose 2 for my flex spots. Woody Marks, Troy Franklin, Bam Knight, Loveland, or Rashid Shaheed. A bit gross. I think we're starting Troy Franklin. Of this group, I think Franklin is the best of the best. Not too excited, but I am betting on a touchdown for him. So let's go with Franklin. I think he's a legit flex play. The rest are very, very scary. Because DeMercado popped off last week. I'm going to fade Bam Knight for sure. Definitely benching Bam Knight. I'm also not excited for this Jags matchup against Woody Marks this week. The Jaguars on the season have allowed the 6th fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. There's one position they're good at stopping, and that is running back. So I'm going to fade Woody Marks. I don't think he scores a touchdown, and without it, I think you're screwed. So that means the second spot is down to Loveland or Rashid Shaheed. I do not like the Cardinals matchup for Rashid Shaheed. I also do not like the fact that he is new to the team. He is a deep shot and nothing else. That's kind of what he was in New Orleans, and now it's more crowded. So the volume will go down in Seattle. Maybe the quarterback play gets better, so the chances that those house calls hit do increase. But in terms of volume, I think Loveland will have a good game. The Bears-Giants game looks like a shootout. And then the Giants are a top 10 matchup this week for Colston Loveland. So I think I'm going to go Loveland. I don't feel good about any of them. But I'm going to go Franklin and Loveland. I have no confidence in Bam Knight. I do not like the upside at all for Woody Marks. I think Loveland has much higher upside than Woody Marks. And then Rashid Shaheed has no floor at all this week. In full PPR, let's get a pass catcher in there. I think the most receptions will go to Franklin and Loveland. Start Troy Franklin and Colston Loveland. DK Masters has Pitts, Fannin, and Njoku or Loveland in PPR. We're going to go Kyle Pitts this week. The matchup is good for Kyle Pitts. If you join the blunt rotation, you'll get my tight end rankings. If you want to wait till tomorrow, you'll see I do have Pitts ranked above Fannin and Njoku. I won't tell you by how much, but I do believe Pitts is where I would go there. Wow says, I think Brock Purdy won't play either. That's unfortunate. I'm really hoping Purdy comes back soon. I think he should. Tripping over the Bowers matchup tonight. I wouldn't. They don't have Surtain. Who is covering Bowers? Bowers is just unguardable. Bowers is just so fucking good. I would not worry about Bowers. He has to be started. You just have to take what comes with Bowers. Last week was so good. If he shits the bed, I'm willing to tolerate it with Bowers. But Nix or May, I don't like the matchup this week for Drake May, so I'm going to go Bo Nix tonight. Should play well. Lucius Vorenus says, half-point PPR, sit one, Genty or Dobbins. Thanks in advance. We're going to bench Genty tonight. I would rather go Dobbins than Genty. I think both will score a touchdown, and I think Dobbins will be more effective on his volume. It'll be less touches for Dobbins, maxing out at like 16, but I'd rather go Dobbins than Genty. I would bench Genty tonight if I had that decision. But Izzy Perez says, good evening. PPR need 2 out of these gentlemen, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, and Walker. We're definitely going Keenan Allen. And then if you trust Deebo Samuel's health, then I would rather go Deebo than Kenneth Walker. The Cardinals have a good defense, especially with Walter Nolan coming in. I don't think it's going to be easy to run on Arizona. So I would fade Kenneth Walker. He never scores touchdowns. I think Deebo gets good volume. Like the matchup for Deebo this week against Detroit with no Terry, most likely, safe volume. Keenan is a better start than the other guys, but I think Deebo is better than Ken Walker. I would go Keenan and Deebo in that spot. Not Dallas says, I got Sutton and Nico, and I'm thinking about benching Nico for Sutton since Davis Mills will be Nico's quarterback and Sutton has the Raiders' great matchup. Why are people so afraid of Davis Mills? I know why. I still have Nico ranked above Sutton, but I do have Sutton top 12. So if you don't have the space, that's fine. I do consider Sutton a good start tonight. So that's totally fine. But I'm not panicking on Nico Collins just because it's going to be Dalton Schultz. It's more about the matchup, and the Jags fucking suck on defense. Jags have no corner that can stop Nico Collins. And if anything, Davis Mills just even more hyper-focused on Nico Collins once he took over. He does not check it down to running back as much. He looks to Nico and slings it, whether he's open or not. Nico's going to get like 12 targets this week. I love Nico this week. I don't want to bench Nico. But for Sutton, I guess if you're scared. I'm not scared, though. Michael Kenji says, Rashad White, Stephon Diggs, Jordan Addison, pick 2. Good to see you again, my friend. It's been a while, but nice to see you in the chat. Half PPR, pick 2. We're going to bench Jordan Addison. I do not trust JJ McCarthy. Against the Ravens, it's not a bad matchup, but I just don't trust McCarthy. I like Diggs a lot this week in a potential shootout with no booty. I think Diggs is a lock for a touchdown. And then it doesn't look like Bucky Irving's going to play this week. So Rashad White has a tough matchup, but the volume will be there. Odds are Rashad White finds the end zone. I would go Rashad White and Diggs. I'd be benching Jordan Addison. Ice Cold Jones says, I pray Dobbins goes off. Otherwise, I'm going to have words with Sean Payton. Dobbins is losing value, bro. It's RJ Harvey time. Incoming very soon. Dobbins got a short runway. Hate to break it to you. Wow says, okay, start 2. Purdy, May, Mills, and Brissett. Superflex league. If Purdy plays, we're going to start Purdy. But we are starting Drake May. Actually, no. Even if Purdy starts, I'm going Drake May and Davis Mills. My quarterback rankings have May and Mills above Brock Purdy. Bench Purdy, bench Brissett. I don't like the Seahawks matchup. And then the Rams matchup isn't great either. Purdy with the toe injury might not even suit up. Even if he does, I'd be benching him for Davis Mills. Love Davis Mills against Jacksonville this week. Geno had 4 touchdowns against Jacksonville. That's all you need to know. Mills will be fine against Jaguars. Slothy says Pittman or Olave this week. We're going Pittman. I do not trust Tyler Shuck as much as Daniel Jones. And I also do not like the J.C. Horn matchup for Olave. Even though Rashid Shaheed leaves the offense, that just means more double teams and less routes where Olave is open. I do not want to trust Olave in division against J.C. Horn. Not a good matchup at Carolina. Ice Cold Jones says Goff or Bo Nix. That one is so effing close. My ranks say Bo Nix, but if I want to have fun, I'm going to go Goff. If I want to have fun. Because I have Goff in the top 5. And I have Nix at number 3. So who cares? They're both going to be great. Trust your gut. Do whatever you want. But the matchup against Washington, I am telling you, my friend. Darnold went off. Goff is due. Goff got bounced off the turf when he lost to the Commanders in Detroit last January in the playoffs. Goff wants revenge. Goff, I think, has the higher ceiling. But the higher floor is Bo Nix. So that's why I rank Bo Nix higher. But at 3 in the ranks versus 5, do whatever you want. If you want to have fun, I would go Jared Goff. Heck Blends says, just traded Breece Hall for Jalen Warren. Not terrible. Higher upside with Breece, but so few touchdowns, and that game against Cincinnati is like so unrepeatable. I think that's a fair trade. I mean, I don't know who won. I genuinely don't know who won rest of the season. You can't tell me that Breece Hall is that much more valuable than Jalen Warren or vice versa. In any given week, I think whoever is involved in this trade might think they won the trade. Like 1 week you might have it's like clear Breece Hall was the side. And then the next week it's like, oh shit, no, Warren was the guy you wanted. And it's going to be flipping and flopping most likely. I think it was a very fair trade. I don't really see a clear winner. Higher upside is Breece, but higher floor is Jalen. Kind of equal value. Both top 20, not top 15. Kind of equal. Slothy says in Singletary a start if Bucky is out. Well, Singletary plays for the Giants and Bucky plays for Tampa. So if you mean Tyrone Tracy is out, then yes. But I assume you're talking about Sean Tucker. If Bucky is out, then Sean Tucker's not worth a start. If you're talking about Rachaad White, then yeah. But if you mean what you typed, then no, Singletary is not a start just because Bucky Irving is out. Blend says, do I start Tyler Warren or Kittle? We're going to go Kittle this week. The Falcons are actually the toughest matchup for tight ends. We're going to go Kittle over Tyler Warren. Wow says, start Devontae or AJ. Worried about the hammy for AJ. We're going to go Devontae this week, one spot above AJ Brown. But I'm also not worried about AJ Brown. For him, it's about his mood, not his hamstring. That's what I believe is the case with AJ Brown. Blend says, I think what made me do it is that the Jets don't really score much and Steelers do. Fair point. Like I said, higher floor with Jaylen Warren, but we saw in week 8, Breece Hall has the highest ceiling between the two. It's just much less likely to hit on Breece Hall. But I want to do a DFS lineup before we sign off. We got to head over to Underdog. So I showed you the roster. This was the final roster who we drafted. We had Lamar Jackson, Devon Achane, Malik Washington, Torrey Horton, Mark Andrews, and AJ Barner. If I had drafted Sam Darnold and Rashad Bateman instead of Lamar Jackson and Malik Washington, I would have won this tournament. If I had drafted Sam Darnold instead of Lamar, I would have had an extra 3 points, and I would have finished, I think, in 4th place or maybe 3rd. Either 3rd or 4th place, I would have gotten an extra 150, 100 bucks. I may have doubled my money if I drafted Darnold instead of Lamar Jackson. But because I went with Lamar Jackson, I was the only top 10 finisher with Lamar, and I did have a shot to be the most unique. But that 80-yard house call that Darnold threw, his 4th touchdown, is the reason why I lost $1,000 and only won $150. Let's do another one. We're not going to go to champions. We're going to go to drafts. We got the Primetime Palooza. That is the only draft that includes Thursday Night Football. So between the Thursday night game, the Berlin game, and then Sunday Night Football, 4-person draft 6 people. The games to pool from are Las Vegas versus Denver. So we're on the Broncos and Brock Bowers. The Falcons at Colts were on Taylor and Bijan. We're also on London in that one. And then the receivers for the Colts are interesting, but I don't know. A bit random. And then Pittsburgh and the Chargers matchup as well. That one's also kind of random. So 6 teams to pool from. We'll only do one of these. I think it's a bit hard and kind of random on which slot you get, but there's a lot of different ways to go. Let's do at least one. Knowing last week I finished top 7, I'm feeling confident that we can win some money here. But what are the payouts in this tournament? 9,000 people. First prize gets $8K. If we finish 7th again, we would get $850. But as long as we finish in the top 1,700, we would double our money with $20. We got pick 1. That is dope. And the only question is, are we going Bijan or Taylor in the Berlin game? I think you have to go with one of these 2 elite running backs. And recent history says Taylor is the better option. However, the matchup stats this week are better for Jonathan Taylor. I think I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor. In the last 4 games, the Falcons are giving up the 2nd most fantasy points to the running back position. I'll pull that up here. Atlanta ranks 9th on the year, but in the last 2 weeks, 29 fantasy points per game. And part of that is because of a lot of work in the passing game, actually. A lot of receiving touchdowns. That's interesting. Taylor, that's not really his calling card. Maybe I do go Bijan instead. But I do have the Falcons winning. You know what? I just talked myself out of it. Let's go Bijan, number 1. I got Bijan on my subscriber league team, so let's stick with those vibes. Let's go Bijan in Berlin. But you could totally talk me into Jonathan Taylor. That's not a bad pick at all. Call Saul says AJ Brown practiced in full. That's good to know. Izzy Perez says full PPR need one Kimani, Vidal, Metcalf, or Singletary from the Giants. Running back need 2 for the flex. Appreciate you, man. I can't tell if you need 1 or 2, but my preference would be to go DK Metcalf, then Kimani Vidal, then Devin Singletary. So if you only need 1, go DK Metcalf. If you need 2, go Metcalf and Vidal. But we are coming back on the clock here after this next pick. And so far, only Drake London has been drafted. Ladd goes. That makes sense. I like Sutton even more than Ladd this week, so we need to draft 2 receivers. I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. And then I also love the matchup for Oronde Gadsden as well. Compared to the rest of them, I don't see the same value at all. And we already have our running back, so I'm not going to draft Jalen Warren. I'm not going to draft J.K. Dobbins, although I do like Dobbins a little bit. I prefer Cortland Sutton. Definitely the best receiver pick in my opinion. What are the other receivers looking like? We could go Keenan Allen later. We could get Troy Franklin. We could get Quentin Johnston. Tight end is gross. We're going to go Oronde Gadsden. And that also opens up a couple different quarterback stacks. Herbert gets taken, so we're not getting the Gadsden Herbert stack. But we could still get Bo Nix. I rank him the highest of all quarterbacks this week, so that'd be a good stack with Sutton. We could also go contrarian and grab someone like Penix. I'm not going to take Geno. I don't think I'm going to take Rodgers. I see that as a lot of field goals in that game. I see Chris Boswell having a really good game on Sunday night. So ideally, I'm getting Bo Nix for the stack with Sutton. He gets taken. I'm fine with Daniel Jones. If I don't get Jones, I'd go Penix. But that'll be weird. The thing about Bijan is he catches a lot of passes, and so that's not a bad stack to have. Like, if you told me Bijan has, like, 2 receiving touchdowns, that'd be kind of dope. Colts secondary has been pretty vulnerable, but they do add Sauce Gardner. The Falcons secondary has been a bit tough. Harvey goes. I would have loved RJ Harvey. So maybe we go Dobbins instead. I could see Dobbins be a good value here. ADP pick 12. We get him at pick 16 if we take him. I think that's the guy at the top of my queue for sure. So then I'll still need a quarterback and I'll still need a wide receiver. I could see Alec Pierce being dope, but we took Dobbins. I think I'm going to go Keenan Allen. Yeah, Steelers secondary has been pretty trash this year. And in primetime, I don't think this is going to be a Quentin Johnston game. I think Quentin Johnston's going to have a drop or 2 in this game. So I'm going to go Keenan. More reliable, much safer. And we need a second receiver 100%. So we'll just accept our fate on whatever happens at quarterback. The team at 3 hasn't drafted their quarterback. Otherwise, the other teams have. And honestly, this week against each other, I don't see a massive difference between Daniel Jones and Penix. I definitely rank Jones higher, but I could see a shootout between the 2 of them. And given my team has a Bijan Robinson stack, not a, Michael Pittman stack or Colts stack, I'm definitely set up more for a Michael Penix team. So he goes Daniel Jones, makes the decision for us. No other team can draft a quarterback. So typically a quarterback is definitely the way to go when you're at the 1 slot. With 6 of them to pick from, you're not going to get stuck with Geno, so it's fine to settle on Penix. If you're not getting Herbert or Bo Nix, I'm fine just waiting to the last pick to grab Michael Penix. So that is my pick. Stack him up with Bijan. And he did have 3 touchdowns last week. Penix has had some decent upside at times. Hopefully, no interceptions. That is my pick. Those were my picks. We went the Bijan at 1. When push came to shove, I'd rather have Bijan than Taylor. And then we also went with Cortland Sutton, who I think, if you're not getting London, is the best wide receiver to draft this week, at least in these 3 matchups, these 3 games in this tournament. But London now against Sauce Gardner is not as appealing. Could have a rough game. Last week, though, against Christian Gonzalez, it didn't matter. But didn't Gonzalez get hurt? Didn't that factor in? I could see Sauce Gardner give him a rough time in Berlin. But Ladd, definitely a good pick. I do like Ladd. I don't see Keenan being that much less valuable. So for him to go 10 spots later is kind of crazy. I would have rather had R.J. Harvey than J.K. Dobbins, but you get what you get. Dobbins was being drafted higher. So the team at 2, Dick Gilly, number 12, I think is making the right call, going with Harvey. Higher ceiling with R.J. Harvey. That's for sure. So I like the team. Wish I had Harvey instead of Dobbins, but otherwise I think it's pretty good. Our quarterback hopefully gets the job done, but I'm not going to draft a second one. At $10 a pop, I don't feel like I want to do a second. Let's just hope and pray that 1 is all we need. It was so close from being all I needed last week. Let's hope that's the case. But are there any new comments coming in? Hall says, subscribe today. Great content and channel. Troy better pop tonight. I hope he does. I'm hoping for that touchdown. If he doesn't, he's a little too wishy-washy. Like, the volume is there for Troy Franklin, but then he doesn't come down with it. Maybe it's just Bo Nix that's just throwing uncatchable balls. Franklin down the field is probably not like a lock to have a high catch percentage with Bo Nix as his quarterback. But the Raiders matchup doesn't scare you. And there's no Marvin Mims. Franklin should play well. There's all the circumstances involved for him to have a good game. So let's hope it happens. But just a low-end flex option outside my top 30. But worth a start if you are desperate. There's 3 good receiving cores on bye this week. With the Bengals, Cowboys, and Chiefs, you might need to look to Troy Franklin. Anyways, I think we've caught up. I think we're done. Are there any other drafts I'm interested in hopping into? We could do a battle royale. I haven't really looked at the slate too much. Otherwise, there's the cheaper ones. But the battle royale has such high payouts comparatively. It's much more tempting to do those. But we could do a $5 one, which is the same tournament we just did. For $5, it's a bit more appealing. And that's actually the tournament I did have success in last week. The cheaper $5 entry, not the $10 one. What was crazy, the $10 one, I think I would have had a good team actually on that one. It was pretty similar. But I don't know what happened. There was fraud involved with some of the other drafters, and I ended up getting my entry refunded. They canceled that draft. It sucked. I got the money back, but a waste of time, and I think that team could have been a winner. I got the $10 back. The $5 entry, though, did carry me to $150. So, you know what? I'm feeling frisky. This tournament closes in 13 minutes. Let's hop in. For $5, let's do it. We are sponsored by Underdog, after all. So I was the last person in the lobby, so can't join if you wanted to. But we do get pick 4, so it'll be a different strategy this time. I think I'm going to go for a heavy running back approach. But damn, actually that's not worth it. Damn. Pick 4, kind of a tough one. I'm definitely taking Bowers or London. But will I go Genty or Jalen Warren? I don't think so. I might go with Bowers and Bo Nix. I might do that. Should probably grab a receiver, though. I think that's probably the better move. Decisions. Let's see what happens. Salami Soldier says Sutton or Wandell. We're going to go Cortland Sutton tonight over Wandell Robinson. Wandell gets a great matchup, but I like the matchup for Sutton as well, and I trust him a bit more. Give me Cortland Sutton over Wandell. So the decision was made for us. We will be taking Brock Bowers. So I'll put him in the queue, but because I'm back to back, I want to use all of my clock. I want to make sure I think this through. And if I double up with Gadsden, then the tight end run is gross, and that's going to be a bit more unique. So that might be the direction I'm going to go, but I'm going to risk it, assume that I can get Gadsden on the way back. And instead, I'm going to go Cortland Sutton. I do have Sutton ranked just above Ladd McConkey this week. Actually, I don't think I can do that. We're wearing a Chargers hat. We're going with a Ladd McConkey pick. We're going to set up a Herbert stack, hopefully. Not a Bo Nix stack. Bolt up, baby. In my heart, that is what I want to do. We get Bowers. That's great. Bowers could definitely be the guy you need to win this whole tournament. Like, if Bowers is the best pick in the first round here, it wouldn't shock me at all. I'm surprised there aren't more teams taking Bowers in the top 2. But I guess when you have access to Taylor and Bijan, feels kind of crazy to pass on them. Sadly, we don't get Gadsden. That would have been dope. But instead, we are going to get Herbert. And then I am going to grab RJ Harvey. We'll see what happens. Coming back around. Maybe we get Keenan Allen. Maybe we get Quentin Johnston. Sadly, we did not get Gadsden. Would have liked to go Herbert and Gadsden. But getting RJ Harvey is perfectly fine. I wanted him last time. And I know, at least I expect him not to come back to pick 20. Last time he went pick 16. And at least I have the running back I wanted most. But given the other teams also have the running backs, it's possible I also get Dobbins at pick 20. I wouldn't hate that. Keenan is still on the board. And he makes it to us. Sweet. We're getting a double stack with Keenan and Ladd with Herbert. That is fire. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So now the only question is, what will I do with the second, with the flex spot? Are we getting a third receiver? That's a bit unique. Are we getting a second tight end? That's also unique. But if I'm going to do that, it's going to be Kyle Pitts, and that feels gross. Running backs, not going to look to Algier or Kenny Gainwell this week, so no thanks there. We took Keenan Allen. We could go Troy Franklin. I have him ranked the highest. We could also get one of the random Raiders receivers. I kind of like Dante Thornton as a rando, but that feels not worth it. I'm going to go Troy Franklin. I like that. Also, Team 2 that only took Pittman, we're kind of burying them a little bit. They have to draft 2 receivers, and now they don't have, like, a viably safe one. Like, Pierce and Downs are still interesting, but not that safe and kind of a tough matchup. So I go heavy Broncos here with RJ Harvey, Troy Franklin, and that is our entry tonight. We are betting on a touchdown for both of them. So if that does hit, we're going to be living. And then Bowers, definitely the best tight end option. I could see Gadsden having a better game, but odds are not as high of a ceiling. And then we set up a Ladd, Keenan, and Herbert stack. I definitely want to stack in this tournament. So that feels good. I like this team as well. I like the other one, but I think this one is better. Anytime you have a better quarterback, you're going to feel more confident. That's usually the position that kind of leads to the most success. Like last week, you needed the Darnold stack. And even though I had the Lamar option, I would have won another $100-$150 had I gone Darnold instead of Lamar. So the stack is what I needed with Torrey Horton. We learned that. Anyways, that's it. Are there any remaining questions? I don't think so. Oh, yeah. A few just came in. Let's go. You're welcome, buddy. Israel says, had Joe Flacco full PPR. Someone dropped Dak Prescott. Should I drop Flacco for rest of season? Thanks. Hope you win, man. Like your picks. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Dak. I mean, we are assuming that Joe Burrow comes back. And last week, Flacco almost didn't suit up. Flacco is 40, can go down at any time. Dak is in the MVP conversation. He's not going to win it, but he's in that like top 5, top 6 quarterback discussion this year. And yes, I'd rather have Dak Prescott than Joe Flacco because they both have great receivers. Same upside. Flacco's been amazing, but he can go down at any time, and Flacco can also lose his job to Joe Burrow. He will at some point. Drop Flacco for Dak. Solami Soldier says, do you like Gadsden or Andrews rest of the season now that Lamar is back? I prefer Gadsden because I still believe that Isaiah Likely is a factor. So in Baltimore right now, I still like Andrews, but this week I think Gadsden has a better game. And then I think as the weeks go on, while maybe Andrews could still be better than Gadsden, he will start to dip a little bit as Likely starts to emerge. Likely is running a decent amount of routes, and at least Gadsden has that job all to himself. So yes, I prefer Oronde Gadsden over Mark Andrews rest of season. And then Teresa, this will probably be the last question I answer. Adam, what is your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk for the playoffs? I appreciate you. Hope your Chargers go far this year. Thank you, Teresa. Really appreciate you. Ayuk is an interesting stash. I have a lot of him in like best ball tournaments, so I'm hopeful that things work out. But the team has a bye in week 14. We're now in week 10, and they've been pushing back his return timeline like over and over. And literally, Shanahan just admitted recently, like, he has no idea when Ayuk is realistically coming back. So they mentioned maybe week 12. At this point, with a bye in week 14, I don't see why that would happen. I think he'll be back week 15, and that is literally the fantasy playoffs. If you're telling me you're starting Ayuk in the fantasy playoffs in his first ever game back this season, I think you're going to lose. Maybe he has a great game, but it's not something I would want to bet on. I think I'd rather leave that landmine for somebody else because the only way I think it's worth it to roster Ayuk is having him on IR. And there's been so many injuries. There will be more injuries to come. I'd rather just use that IR slot for someone like Travis Hunter, who I think could still maybe come back. Probably doesn't, but maybe. And then also like using it for Omarion Hampton or Ricky Pearsall. I'd much rather have Ricky Pearsall than Brandon Ayuk in one of my leagues, not the subscriber league, but my 12 team PPR league. Someone just dropped Ricky Pearsall. I might be picking him up to put him on IR because I have Travis Hunter and I'd rather have Pearsall on IR. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Like, I don't think he'll move the needle. If he does, it's going to be so random. And I think the teams that are desperate enough to consider him are probably not going to be the teams that win the whole thing. I don't expect him back until the fantasy playoffs. And if it's his first, second, and even third game of the year, when it matters most, I just can't bet on it. I don't think Ayuk is relevant this season. But Salami says subscription is staying locked in. You're awesome, brother. I try and lock in on your streams. Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. And we've been live for about an hour and 45 minutes. We'll take one last smoke break, and then I'll sign off. I'll say goodbye right after we come back. Damn. It's crazy how daylight savings fucks me over. Like, I know it doesn't look great because it's dark in the background, but like it's only 5 p.m. It sucks that it got dark so fast. I used to still have some wiggle room. I try to get you guys better lighting on the videos. It's definitely better when I have the bright, full daylight, but at this time it's already getting dark. And I don't have my lights back behind me up on the screen here. So thank y'all for joining me. It's been fun, and I wish you luck tonight. If you're starting anyone, I hope they go off. And last thing to do, let's check my lineup and tell you who I'm starting and sitting in my own team, and if there's any decisions I need to make. Let's find out. So sorry for the brightness, but this is my subscriber league team. And the only Raider I had was Jacoby Myers, who just got traded, so he's not playing tonight. He's on my bench. I'm going to see what happens in Jacksonville. I'm hopefully optimistic, but I feel like Parker Washington might be the better name to roster. Otherwise, I don't have any Broncos on this team, so nobody active tonight. I don't have to worry about making a lineup decision. I think I'm going to go with Travion and Pop Douglas. And for that reason, it's kind of tempting to go with Drake May. The projection is higher, but I'm not so sure. I think I'm going to go Justin Herbert, but given I have a big stack in New England, I might just go with Drake May, Travion, and Pop Douglas. But Pop is my flex play this week. I have Kittle at tight end, Devontae Adams and Igbuka, Bijan, and Travion Henderson. I don't have any running backs to slot in, and with Shaheed coming into Seattle, Torrey Horton does lose value. I'm hoping that Hampton is back after the Week 12 bye. I really need him back. I am hopeful, but without him, I may not advance in the fantasy playoffs. Anyways, I'm 6-3 in the Blunt League. I'm in 5th place. I've gotten a bit lucky in terms of scheduling, but I've also won every game with at least 100 points. 100 points is what you need in this league to get the job done. Only one flex spot, and the last 4 weeks I am 4-0 with at least 100 in every game, but less than 107 in every game as well. 5 of my wins this season, I'm under 107. Anyways, I have a second team. This one is in a full PPR format, and the team is Jerry's Dementia. I'm also in 5th place, 6-3. Also on a 4-game win streak. I'll show you this one. I've been really popping off lately. It's a full PPR double flex league, and 130 points is usually good. I had the highest score of the season in week 7, 196.8. I'll just show you that real quick, just to flex, just to brag. We had Herbert that week for 33 points. I benched Drake May. I had Quinshon Judkins for 26. That was the Dolphins game in the wind. I had Kimani Vidal with 7.5 points. I had CeeDee Lamb with 26. I have Drake London with 8. I had Trey McBride with 29. I had Dobbins with 9 points. I had Ertz with 12.7. And then I had the Browns defense with 26. And then Brandon Aubrey with 18. On my bench, I had RJ Harvey, Tony Pollard, and Travis Hunter. I could have had even more points. If I had started Travis Hunter instead of Kimani Vidal, I would have had another 19 points in that week. That would have been fun. But just shy of 200. Not bad. Not bad at all. Anyways, on the team, we are starting both RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins tonight. I am putting them in the RB slots because I want the flexibility in the flex spots with other positions. So Harvey and Dobbins, I want in the lineup. I think Judkins will be better, but I don't know if he'll get injured or anything. He should be fine, but I'm going to lock in Harvey and Dobbins at the top. I think Harvey will have a better game than Dobbins tonight, but I think we're going to go Herbert in this one. We don't have the same stacks in New England, so I'll go Herbert. I think I'll bench Drake May on this roster, not that one. And then we got Drake London, Pop Douglas at receiver. I have CeeDee Lamb on the bench who's on bye. I also have Josh Downs on the bench. Don't love his matchup. I actually prefer Demario Douglas this week. And then Travis Hunter probably out for the year, but is in my IR slot. I have Trey McBride, Quinshon Judkins, and I think I'm going to go Kyle Monangai, even if Swift does play. I think he's going to be better than Kimani because the matchup against the Giants is really good. And if it's a snow game and Swift is banged up, then Monangai still has value. I still think he'll be okay. But the Bucs defense, I think I'm going to rock with them because I need to roster a second kicker this week. Typically, I would have a second defense, but I'm just going to say fuck it and ride with the Bucs because I need another defense. I'm not dropping Brandon Aubrey. I'll drop Brandon McManus next week and pick up a bench stash defense. But Kimani Vidal on the bench. I could put Kimani over Monangai, but at the moment, I think I still prefer Kyle Monangai. And then Josh Downs, I also don't love his matchup against the Falcons. I prefer Demario Douglas, in all honesty. I think there's more shootout potential in the passing game with Drake May and no Kayshon Boutte. Anyways, that's my lineup. I'm all good to go. I am starting Harvey and Dobbins tonight, and wish me luck. I will finally say goodbye. So that's it for me. I hope you have a good one. Whoops. Peace out. Goodbye.